This is a story of how ringworm ruined my senior year of college. The summer before my last year of college, I decided it was a good idea to adopt a cat from an animal shelter. My second cat, mind you, I already had one. But I was living alone and I felt lonely. Okay, I needed another kitty to keep me company. And little did I know, it would turn into a whole year of hell. Honestly, that's the best way to describe it. I love Emile so much. However, he did kind of ruin my life a little bit for about a year. And, finances that I'm still recovering from. This is going to be the first installment of me just yapping, okay? Whatever we're going to call it, I'll figure it out. You'll know, hopefully. Or this will be called something and then maybe it'll change. Who knows? We're going to start off by talking about genuinely one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my whole life. And that is with ringworm. I hope you can hear my cat, the Emile, eating in the background right now. He's chomping on some dry food, so it's quite loud. So it all started when I went down to the animal shelter closest to where I grew up because it's a smaller town and they have a lot of animals and you can just go in and see them whenever you want to. I actually visited twice without the intention to get a cat. Another cat, I should say. Because I got my first cat from that shelter as well. Had a great experience. I got one of my childhood cats from that shelter. Also had a great experience with that. This last time, not such a great experience. So I go in, I see this 10-month-old orange kitty who's so cute, so sweet, and so lovey, but is injured, kind of sick. They claimed, okay, this is what they told me. I'll tell you what I knew as I was going through this. My impression, my understanding was that Mr. Emile had ear mites or an ear infection, which first red flag, they couldn't even tell me. The people working at the shelter couldn't even recall which one he had. He had been treated for it, but they didn't remember which one. But he had been treated there at the animal shelter for it because he'd been there for a couple months, okay? In a cage with other cats. Important detail here. And so he had scratches on his face and he had a scab behind his ear that was I'm not even kidding, this big, to the point where his ear was drooping down from the weight of the scab. It was so sad. And he had a little kitty cold and he was just going through it. I felt so bad for this guy and he was so sweet regardless. So I decided this was a guy I was going to take home. And you know what? I don't regret it. However, it wasn't fun how this ended up going. Like I said, he had a little kitty cold, which I didn't realize when I was just seeing him in the shelter. We didn't get to spend that much time with him. When I took him home finally, I had him, thank God, away from my other kitty that I already had because she, you separate them to try and introduce them well together. And so I still had them away from each other. He was in my spare bedroom and he had just this nagging kitty cold that wouldn't go away. After 2 days, he was pretty sick. He was sneezy, snotty, wheezy. He was gross, honestly. And I just wanted to make sure he was okay. And I hadn't taken him to the vet yet since I got him, which I now realize was a mistake. But I trusted that, considering he had vet records from the animal shelter, that he had been treated for whatever. So this poor guy, I've eventually found out that he had a little kitty cold and he had an ear infection and he had a ringworm. Which the craziest part is that I walk in to the vet with my boyfriend and Emile, and immediately, as soon as the vet tech, not even the vet, the person that comes in before and gets your animal ready to see the vet, was like, have you seen any spots on you come up recently? And I was like, no, why? What are you talking about? And she was like, oh, because that looks like ringworm. That looks like pretty developed ringworm. And I was like, huh? What the hell is that? Because I had heard of ringworm, but I had never had any personal experience with it before, which is crazy because I grew up on a farm with a bunch of outside cats, but I had never experienced ringworm before. So I didn't know what it looked like on cats. I didn't have any spots on me or anything yet because it's only been a couple days. So immediately I was like, what the fuck? Okay, whatever that means, that doesn't seem good. But I did not immediately fully understand how much of a process this was going to be. And, I learned my lesson now. I now know what that fully entails. But, they come in, they do some tests, figure out whatever. They put the little light on him and it glows and we're like, it's ringworm. Boop. Whatever. Here's an antifungal. Go home. Quarantine him away from your cat. 6-week treatment. Come back when you're done. Okay. And I was like, damn, this really sucks. I need to go home and look more into it and really figure out how big of a deal this is going to be. It's unfortunate that he's sick and I have to lock him away, but he better than being in an animal shelter still in a tiny cage with like 5 other cats. Okay. Let's jump back to that really quick. The fact that he was in a cage with other cats, come to find out, news to me, ringworm is crazy contagious to other cats, to humans, to dogs, to a lot of animals can get ringworm super easily from other animals that have ringworm. And so the fact that they had him in a cage with other cats, crazy. And people were just going in, petting him. Like it's you don't have to schedule an appointment to go into this animal shelter or anything. You can just walk in their front door when they're open, walk into any of the cages and pet the cats and leave. And fucking, he had ringworm. It's crazy. We go through this first round of treatment and I'm being fairly precautious. I did some research online. The vet honestly was not very informative. But luckily, I did some research online and, I was careful. I showered after every time I saw him. I didn't spend too much time with him. I wore gloves when I was handling him for the first couple weeks. I was really diligent by giving him his meds when I was supposed to, obviously. We get through the first treatment, 6 weeks later, and I take him back to the vet and they're like, okay, we have to do a fungal culture. And mind you, this is not the vet I saw before. This is a vet filling in because the 2 other vets that are normally at this vet's office were gone for some reason. And so I get this vet that's filling in that I don't know. And they just take, because the way that you do a fungal culture on a cat is you just take a toothbrush so you can get some of their fur and some of their skin and maybe some ringworm if it's on them still. And you're supposed to be pretty thorough and get it all over them just because you want to pick up any spores that may be there. This vet just goes on the back of his neck in a space this big and calls it a day. He's just like, okay, sounds good. We'll call you in 4 weeks. What? Keep him quarantined until then and keep giving him meds. Did I mention that ringworm medication is really expensive? I went through, I think, only a 1.5 bottles. So I had to buy 2 bottles of the antifungal for Emile the first time. And it's almost $200, I think, for a bottle. And luckily, he was pretty small. Like I said, he was only 10 months old. He was a smaller cat, so I didn't have to give him a whole lot. So I only went through a little bit over 1 bottle, but I had to buy 2 bottles. And luckily, I kept the second bottle. This still was at least half full. The fungal culture came back negative. Nothing grew. And so they were like, okay, yeah, you're good. Take him out of quarantine. Go back, live your life, bestie. You're good. You're free of ringworm. It was a hellish 10 weeks total between treatment and waiting for the culture to come back. Hearing him cry every day, all day was not fun. And then I could properly introduce him and my other cat. And that went well. They ended up being friends after a while. But then so it's important context that the room that I kept him quarantined in has carpet. I was not aware how hard it is to get ringworm out of carpet. You have to get basically every single cat hair out of that carpet in order for it to be actually clean. I didn't know that. I didn't realize it was so fucking intense because ringworm can live in soft surfaces for I don't even know, but up to 2 years is what I've seen online. The spores can feed off of dead skin cells and stuff and it's crazy. So I kept that room closed off actually, not really because of the ringworm, because I vacuumed every other day when he was in there to, stop it from spreading to him, while he was in there still. And then I shampooed the shit out of the carpet. after I took him out. But my other cat, Remy, she likes to poop on the floor in that room because she just decided that whole room was her litter box and she would just poop on the floor, which was great. Nowhere else in my apartment did she do that ever. She just decided that room, and I think it's because the people that lived there before me had cats, and I have a feeling their cat probably did the same thing, and that's why she thought that was okay, because you could like smell it in the carpet or something. But that room was my storage room, and so I moved some of my stuff back in there after I moved Emile out, which was a mistake, I guess. But I kept the door closed most of the time. But there was a couple times they got in there because the door didn't really latch shut very well, which was a pain in the ass, considering it was his quarantine room. I had to like tie a weight to a scarf and tie that to the door handle, and like it was a whole thing. A couple months go by, and during these few months, I get a couple spots of ringworm on me off and on. So like basically I'll have a spot, it'll go away within 2 weeks because I got ringworm. I got a bunch of spots actually. I got like 5 or 6 spots right like the first time around when I was giving him his treatment, because I had been around him a bunch before I knew that he had ringworm. Like I had been around him for a couple days and obviously wasn't like showering 24/7, and I just like pet him and then went about my day not knowing. I had to go to the doctor and I got an oral antifungal and a topical antifungal that I took. That healed up super quick. Then, yeah, after he got out of quarantine, I kept getting spots every once in a while, like once every couple weeks. And it was super weird because he seemed totally fine. My other cat seemed totally fine. It's just that I kept getting a spot every once in a while. I thought, maybe it was like in my clothes, even though like I was washing everything properly, like washing with hot water, drying on high heat, doing small loads. That way I made sure I got all the cat hair off and everything like that. I was like, maybe it's in some of my pants that I wore to go in and give him his meds when he was sick. And I only went into that storage room every once in a while. And then I was like, okay, maybe it's in the carpet in there, because I kept getting it on my legs. And I had gone in there to like rearrange all my storage stuff, and I was sitting on the floor on the carpet, of course, but I didn't think it was like that big of a deal. I was like, oh, maybe there's like a few spores left over and that's why I got it, because I was obviously very susceptible to getting it, because my boyfriend never got a single spot until like 6 months later, basically when it got back on the cats again and we didn't know for a while. But we'll get there. But during this first couple months, he never got a spot, and I had spots all the time. So I must just be very susceptible to getting ringworm, which is great. So after a while, I keep getting it, and the cats get into the room every once in a while, but everything seems like it's fine. So I got Emile in August of 2024. And then all of this went down and over the next couple months, and by January, perfect timing, of 2025. So basically right when that semester was starting is when Emile, actually it was Remy. I noticed that Remy had a little patch of like dry skin looking stuff on her ear. And I was like, that looks suspicious. I don't know what that is, and I'm not gonna risk it. So I freaked the fuck out, to be frank. Like I was panicking a little bit, and I got a vet appointment for I noticed on like a Friday evening, of course, but I got enough time to call the vet before they closed on Friday to schedule an appointment for Monday, because I was like, this is urgent. I need to know right now if this is ringworm. And so just preemptively, I cleaned out my storage room again, cleaned everything the cats had touched, to the best of my ability that weekend. I just took the weekend off from work and just fucking cleaned so much. And then I quarantined Remy in the room. I don't remember if I did Emile too, but when I took him to the vet, I took them both. And it turns out they both had ringworm again, which is awesome. And so this is round 2 of ringworm, in a way, for Emile at least. Round 1 for Remy, but we'll call it round 2. This time, Emile is bigger. I have to give him more meds, and I have to give meds to Remy, who is a full-grown adult cat and kind of fat. So I go through 3 bottles of the antifungal the second round of treatment for them when I was treating both of them. And I kept them in that room again because I cleaned the shit out of the carpet once again before I put them in there. And I thought, maybe it wasn't the carpet. Like, I don't know. I don't know why it didn't click in my head that it was the carpet. I thought maybe it was my fault and that I had given them ringworm from when I had the spots, which is possible too. But I like to tell myself that's not what it was because it makes me feel really guilty. Because after I found out that they both had ringworm, they then spent the next 6 months in quarantine. The first half of that was in that room again. And while they were in this room the first time around, like I said, I was doing a whole deep clean of my apartment. And it was a whole fucking thing, not even kidding. I barely slept. It was a whole 3 days of cleaning. I threw away so much stuff. So much stuff. Because I had to rewash all of my laundry because my cats had been in my closet. I didn't have actual closet doors. I just had open closets. And so my cats had been by all my clothes and just everywhere in my apartment. I don't know how long they had a ringworm before they showed symptoms because I couldn't even see anything on Emile until we looked under the light and you could see it glowing under his fur, but he didn't have any spots or anything yet. So I have no idea how long they had it. And then I was still getting it and I didn't know where the hell it was coming from. So I had to rewash all my clothes and threw away basically all of their cat toys, their cat beds, their cat tower, everything. I was like, fuck it. I am not doing this again after this. I'm getting rid of everything. And maybe I can insert a picture if I can find it. I had my living room half full of shit that I was throwing away. Bags and bags and bags full of stuff that I had to throw out because there was just no way to clean it. And I wasn't risking it. Because ringworm is really expensive. It's cheaper to rebuy all this shit than it is to go through it again. Even just talking about it, I'm anxious. I'm am I gonna manifest this happening again? Fuck no. I'm not manifesting that. I'm putting that out into the universe right now. Not happening again. We go through round 2 of treatment and, 6 weeks of meds. I at least knew this time that I was gonna have to go in for the fungal culture and wait a month for a negative, okay? I was feeling really optimistic because I was a clean freak this time around. Seriously, so strict with how I saw the cats. No touching them at all with my skin the first 3 weeks of treatment. Vacuuming every day, changing out their bowls and their food stuff every single day. Everything they touched was changed out every day, pretty much. I had socks covering pants tucked into my socks, long sleeves, hair up, strip as soon as I get out of the room, get straight into the shower, wash my body, I'm not even fucking kidding you, 3 times every time I showered. New towel every day, new sponge every day, everything. Okay. Sponge, loofah. I don't know why I called it a sponge. Anyways. So I am really diligent this time around because I'm okay, this fucking sucks and I have to quarantine both of my cats. And luckily they had gotten the time to become friends before I had to trap them in a room together, but I can't say they enjoyed it. Luckily it was a decent sized bedroom, not big, but not tiny either. It's not like they were trapped in a bathroom or something, or maybe a kitty tent like they would be in a few weeks. So unfortunately, less than a week after I got the fungal culture done, I got a call from the vet and I was like, oh fuck, that can't be good. Immediately I knew because I have their number saved in my phone. I knew it was the vet calling and I knew it couldn't have been good news because I shouldn't have heard anything from them until 4 weeks later when I got the negative result. So I knew that a call meant a positive result. And I had just got done having a super long day on campus. I just had taken an exam or was studying for an exam or something. And I just fucking broke down. They called me luckily at 5 p.m. instead of in the morning. Because the rest of my day was just done after that. I was not able to do anything. I just broke down and I couldn't. I was so stressed out. I was I cannot believe I have to go through this again. Another 10 weeks of this, at least if I can get rid of it. What the hell is going on? And it really pissed me off because they essentially blamed me because this time around, because they had a positive fungal culture, They were able to sequence it and find out what type of ringworm it was. And apparently this type of ringworm prefers humans, actually. It's more common in humans. It's not as common in cats or other animals. And so they were like, well, why do they keep getting exposed to this? And I was like, I don't fucking know, because I'm the only person they've seen the last 10 weeks. And I didn't get any more ringworm after they quarantined again the second time. I no longer got any spots because I was that diligent about it. So I was like, I genuinely don't know how they keep getting re-exposed. It could be that they're giving it back and forth to each other. Like one would heal before the other and then they'd get re-exposed, or because I had to quarantine them together, not separately, because I only had one extra bedroom and only one bathroom. So I couldn't like keep one in the bathroom and one in the bedroom, whatever. Basically, you need to separate them and we need to do this again and we need to do it better. And I was like, how the fuck do I do more than I did the first time? It's crazy. Like I was genuinely like, I don't know what else to do. And so I got creative. And luckily, I figured out that they make like portable playpens, mostly for like puppies, you know? Great though. Cat proof. They're pretty big, pretty good size. Big enough for a cat, like one cat to be in there on its own. Ideally not for weeks at a time. However, you know, a litter box, food, water, you know, a little blanket would fit in there. They are, you know, like $200 a piece. But so is the ringworm medication. And I ended up going through like fucking 10 bottles of that shit. I swear to God, it was crazy. I was so broke after this. It was so bad. I did not think that getting Emile was going to be like a $5,000 investment. It was crazy, but it was. And so I go through the next 10 weeks. I'm cleaning the shit, like wiping down the whole inside of the tent, like every day. They're litter every day. They're the blanket that's in there with them. I got like cheap blankets from like a resale store nearby. Like it was like Ollie's, I think. Like a couple dollars per blanket so that they had something to lay on instead of just like the tarp material. I felt bad. So I got them a bunch of blankets that I could change out every day. And then, you know, new food bowls, new water bowls, stuff like that. Like I could just get them new stuff every day. And then also it was great because then I didn't have to go into a whole room where they had been walking around every day. I could just stick my hands in there. And of course, still I was like very diligent because I had to kind of get in there to clean, but it was easier later on, especially in the last like week or two, and when they were done with treatment, when I didn't have to clean every single day and I could clean like every other day, when they should not have been infected anymore. That was easier, but I felt really terrible. And it meant that every time I walked in the door, because these were my living room, because that's the only place I had for them, every time I walked in my door, I heard them crying and they were so upset, you know, rightfully so. And also, I no longer had access to my living room, basically. I was just confined to my room in my apartment, and even in my room, I could hear them crying. And so I just barely was in my apartment ever, which worked out because it was my last semester of college. So I was able to just be on campus all the time, studying real hard, however, very sad and very stressed out because this was, you know, it's a whole process to every single morning have to get dressed head to toe, take care of my cats for like an hour, and then shower for like 30 minutes because I have to like clean the shit out of myself every time I shower, and then try to like hurry out of the house because I think they cried less when I wasn't there or when I was like asleep. Like if they forgot that I was there throughout the night or something, they'd get quieter. But if I was like walking around in the kitchen and stuff, they'd be, yeah, crying so loud, and it was just so sad to hear. But then we get to May, I think, and their treatment is done. Round 3 is done. Start the fungal culture. Okay. It's awesome, amazing, great. I don't hear back anything for 4 weeks. But then we're at the 4-week mark and I'm like, well, I'm ready to move out of this place and I'm ready to get my cats out of quarantine. Because then also at this point, I'm scared. Oh, also did I mention that I bought whole new kitty tent enclosure things for them after their treatment was done. Because I was like, if there's a chance that there's a single fucking spore in there and we do this whole process over again, no. Because I also had to move out of my apartment. at the end of July. And at this point, it was May. Okay, so I was like, this has to be the last time. I can't move and bring ringworm to a new apartment. Not fucking happening. And so I bought new ones, which was another, $500. And okay, so I'm waiting to get the results back, and I've planned moving out of my apartment around this because luckily I was moving in with my boyfriend and his family, and I could just leave whenever I wanted to, basically. I was already done at my job. I planned everything with moving around when the cats would be done with their quarantine, really banking it all on the fact that there would be a negative fungal culture, like really. And this is crazy. So 4 weeks have gone by and I haven't heard anything from the vet, and I'm like waiting very anxiously every day for a call from the vet. But when we get to 4 weeks, I'm like, okay, this should be the day that they called me and tell me it's negative. And they hadn't called me, and I was planning on moving out with my cats that day. I had everything packed up. I had basically all of my stuff moved out except for the cats and the things I needed to live there for that day. Because mind you, I'm moving 3.5 hours away. It's not a short trip. Okay, it's a whole thing. And I had my parents come up and help me that day, and the vet's like, oh, well, I don't know, the lab hasn't let us know yet. And I was like, well, I need to know. You need to figure it out because I'm going regardless because I got to get out of here. Whatever. I was like, I have everything packed up. I literally I didn't have my bed there anymore. I couldn't live in my apartment another night unless I wanted to sleep on the fucking floor. I didn't want my cats to be in quarantine any longer than they had to. And so I'm like, okay, well, can you please try to contact them today? Because I called them 8 a.m. And I'm like, please try to contact the lab today. I need to know. I'm moving my cats today regardless. I already have them packed up. I have them, gabapentined up so that they're not freaking out in the car ride. I'm ready to go. Okay? I need to get out of that apartment. Luckily, thank God, they call me on my drive to my boyfriend's when I have the cats in the car with me. I have their fur and shit all over me because they don't like being in their carriers and I really don't like being in the car. They call me when I'm driving. I'm halfway there, and they call me and they're like, the culture is negative. And when I tell you, I hung up and I think I cried tears of joy for the rest of the drive. I was ecstatic because I'm not even kidding you. The cats spent 6 straight months in quarantine between the room and their kitty tents. And I had spent the last year in hell. Either the cats had ringworm or I had ringworm for the whole last year. And that meant the cats were clear. I was clear. I was leaving the apartment. I never had to go back. It was perfect. Everything worked out so well. But this was at the end of June of 2025. I got Emile in August of 2024. And this was in June of 2025. So I was dealing with this for the whole last year of college, which was so stressful already. Aside from the fact that my cats had ringworm and I had ringworm and blah, 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 ringworm. My whole world revolved around ringworm. It was crazy. And it made me have to work at my job more often when I was already busy with school because I had to afford to get them their fucking ringworm medication and take them to the vet a bunch. Because even every vet visit for them, because it was 2 of them and I had to do all the ringworm shit, was a couple $100. And I had to take them to the vet a bunch all the fucking time, it felt like. I will say, it taught me a lot, to say the least. However, if I could have not gone through that, that would have been great. I would have loved Emile just as much regardless. I didn't need to go through all that to do so. That's one of those I would never wish it upon my worst enemy type of things because it was almost my last straw. I'm not even kidding. It was bad, but I did it. I got through it. It's been 9 months. It's March of 2026, so it's been quite a while. We're coming up to, I'm gonna say almost a year. That's a little generous, but almost a year of being ringworm-free. And it's it's crazy. The fear that I lived in for months after I got them out of quarantine and I moved, that another spot was gonna appear on them or me or something, and the anxiety was crazy. It was crazy. And I am just so thankful. I'll say that. I'm so thankful that I'm not dealing with it anymore. I just literally could not do it anymore. It was just unbearable. I was like, I swear to God, if these cats have ringworm one more time, I gotta like send them off to somewhere else to get cured. Like, I'll pay whatever money I have to. I just can't do it anymore. I can't. But we did it. And my kitties are healthy and happy and living their best life. And God, were they so clingy when they first got out of quarantine. It was great. I loved it because I missed them a lot. And they missed me a lot. It was great. We just cuddled all the time. But I hope to never do that again. To say the least, this apartment that I live in now has no carpet. Just in case. I'm always scared. I am always scared. Thanks for listening to my horror story. I appreciate you spending time with me because this is something that I love to rant about it, but also I hate talking about it because it causes me actual intense anxiety. Just thinking about it. Dr. Bear says goodbye. Thank you for watching.